In the quiet docking bay of the Terran Republic station called Orion Gate, the air smelled of oil and iron. Workers moved between metal corridors, carrying crates of parts and fuel. Engines hummed from distant ships waiting for permission to leave. Among all the noise and light stood Jaxona, a young mechanic with grease on her hands and a spark of determination in her eyes. She worked on a small transport engine, her sleeves rolled up, her hair tied back in a simple knot. Jaxona had never seen the central worlds of the Republic. She grew up on a mining station where humans worked long shifts, fixing old machines to keep life running. Her mother used to say that every bolt and wire in space was touched by a human hand, and that was what made them stronger than any alien empire. Those words stayed with her, giving her courage whenever the world around her felt too big. That morning, the loudspeakers echoed through the bay. A call went out for volunteers. A distress signal had arrived from the colony world Nera 7, located near the edge of Tsar Dominion space. The Tsar were not at war with the Republic, but everyone knew they were dangerous. No human ship that entered their claimed region ever returned. The station commander repeated the message 3 times, yet the room stayed silent. No one wanted to take the risk. Jaxona listened while tightening a valve on the engine. Her friend Milo, another mechanic, looked over from his workstation. "Don't even think about it," he said, wiping his hands. "That mission is suicide. The Tsar don't send distress signals. They send traps." Jaxona gave a small smile. "Someone out there sent a message for help. Maybe they are still alive." Milo shook his head. "Let the fleet handle it. We are not soldiers." She closed the panel on the engine and stepped back. "The fleet isn't going," she said softly. "That's why they're asking for volunteers." She looked up at the large display showing the signal's details. The message came from a colony established 3 years ago by settlers from the outer systems. It was supposed to be self-sustaining, but contact had been lost 6 months earlier. Now the signal pulsed every hour, repeating the same short phrase, "Help us. They are here." Something inside Jaxona told her that waiting was not an option. Humanity had reached the stars because ordinary people did extraordinary things. Maybe she could be one of those people. She walked toward the command desk where officers gathered around the mission briefing. The duty officer, a tall woman with sharp eyes, noticed her. "Civilian access ends here," the officer said firmly. "I want a volunteer," Jaxona replied. Her voice trembled at first, but she stood straight. "I can fix engines and reactors. If the distress ship needs repair, I can help." The officer frowned. "This is not a repair job. We need trained crew who can survive in hostile territory." "I can do that," Jaxona said. "I don't need a rank to help someone." The officer looked at her for a moment, then sighed. "Fine, report to Captain Wren of the Vigilant Star. He is assembling a small scout crew. But if he rejects you, you stay here. Understood?" Jaxona nodded, heart pounding. The Vigilant Star was an older model scout ship built for speed and stealth. Its silver hull had patches of burn marks from past missions. Inside, narrow corridors led to a command deck lined with flickering lights. Captain Wren stood near the central console reading data reports. He was an older man with short gray hair and a calm expression that came from years of experience. When Jaxona entered, he barely looked up. "You must be the volunteer," he said. "Mechanic, right?" "Yes, Captain," she replied. "Jaxona. I can handle repairs, engines, power cores, or field tools." He studied her quietly, then said, "This mission is not about fixing things. The distress signal might be a trap. We go in fast, check for survivors, and leave before the Tsar notice. If we fail, there will be no rescue." Jaxona nodded again. "I understand, sir," Wren sighed. "You've got spirit. Maybe that will help us. Report to the engine bay and make sure everything works. We leave in 1 hour." Her hands shook slightly as she walked away, but inside her chest a feeling of purpose grew stronger. She had been chosen. An hour later, the Vigilant Star left Orion Gate with a low rumble. Through the viewing window, Jaxona watched the station shrink into the distance as the ship entered slipstream space. Blue light filled the cabin and the stars stretched into long streaks. She felt the hum of the engines beneath her feet, steady and strong. The crew numbered only 7. Besides Captain Wren, there was Naven the pilot, Mira the communications officer, 2 security crew, and a medic named Rowan. They all looked professional, confident, and a little skeptical of their new mechanic. When the ship hit turbulence in the slipstream, an alert flashed on the engineering panel. A coolant pump was failing. Without waiting for orders, Jaxona grabbed her toolkit and rushed into the narrow maintenance tube. Hot steam hissed around her as she opened the access hatch. She replaced a broken fuse line with a manual bypass, then sealed the pipe before the temperature climbed too high. "Engineering stable," she reported through her comm. Ren's voice came back. "Quick work. Keep it that way." Afterward, Mira passed her in the corridor and said with a small grin, "You might actually be useful." Jaxona smiled but stayed quiet. She did not come to earn praise. She came because someone out there needed help. 3 days later, they dropped out of slipstream near Nera 7. The planet floated against a dark background, covered in thick clouds and blue oceans. But around it drifted hundreds of broken ships. The wreckage looked old, some still burning faintly from past battles. A cold silence filled the bridge as the crew stared at the sight. Ren whispered, "So many lost." Naven adjusted the sensors. No life signs among the wrecks. But the distress signal is still active from the surface. Mira frowned. "That means someone or something is sending it." Ren gave his command. "Prepare to enter orbit." Jaxona checked the reactor shielding. "I don't want our systems failing out here." Jaxona ran diagnostics. Everything seemed stable, until the scanners picked up a strange pulse from the planet below. Before she could warn anyone, the ship shook violently. Alarms blared. "Energy surge from the surface," Mira shouted. Shields dropping. Lights flickered across the bridge. Naven fought the controls as the ship spiraled. Ren gripped the rail. "Power to stabilizers." Jaxona reroute the grid. She raced through the corridor to the power core. Smoke filled the chamber. The main line had overloaded, cutting off energy to the stabilizers. She tore open a side panel, coughing through the haze, and began reconnecting the circuits by hand. Sparks flew as she linked the wires with a manual connector. "Core stabilizing," she called over comms. "Try the engines now." The ship steadied. The shaking stopped. Jaxona leaned against the wall, catching her breath. Her hands were burned slightly, but she smiled through the pain. The vigilant star was alive. When she returned to the bridge, Ren looked at her with surprise and respect. "You just saved us from becoming another wreck," he said. "Not bad for a volunteer," Jaxona nodded. "Just doing my job, sir." The crew exchanged relieved looks. The tension in the air eased a little. Mira handed Jaxona a water flask. "You might be small," she said with a grin, "but you've got more courage than half the fleet." As the ship settled into low orbit, they examined the data from the planet below. The signal came from a settlement near a mountain ridge surrounded by strange energy readings. Ren decided they would land at dawn, when the planet's rotation brought that region into daylight. That night, Jaxona could not sleep. She sat near a viewport staring at the planet's dim glow. It looked peaceful from up here, but she knew the calm could hide danger. Still, something told her that this mission mattered more than anyone realized. Milo's words echoed in her mind. "The Tsar don't send distress signals. They send traps." But she refused to believe that fear should decide humanity's limits. Every discovery in history came from someone who ignored fear. Ren walked in quietly. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. Jaxona shook her head. "Just thinking about what we might find down there." He leaned against the wall. "You remind me of myself a long time ago, before I learned that space doesn't care about bravery." "Maybe," she said, "but someone has to care. Otherwise we stop being who we are." Ren smiled faintly. "You talk like an old Terran philosopher. Get some rest. Tomorrow we make history or we disappear trying." When he left, Jaxona looked out again at Nera 7. The stars reflected on the glass like tiny sparks of hope. She whispered to herself, "We'll make it. We have to." The hum of the engines lulled her into light sleep. Outside, the planet rotated slowly, and in the distance, faint signals flickered from unseen transmitters. Somewhere on that world, someone, or something, was waiting for the humans to arrive. Jaxona had no idea that her decision to volunteer would soon change not just her life, but the course of human history across the stars. The next morning, a soft light from the nearby sun touched the gray surface of Nera 7. Mist covered the valleys, and tall metallic structures shone faintly through the haze. From orbit, the planet looked both calm and mysterious. Inside the vigilant star, the crew prepared for landing. Jaxona stood near the engine bay, running one last check on the ship's stabilizers. The energy pulse from the day before had left small damages that she quickly patched up with spare conduits. Her hands moved fast and steady. She did not want anything to fail again. Not when they were this close to the unknown. Captain Wren entered the bay, his steps echoing against the metal floor. "We land near the colony site in 20 minutes, he said. "Stay sharp. Once we touch down, we will have to act fast," Jaxona nodded. "Engines and shields are ready. If the pulse hits again, we can reroute power manually." Wren gave a small nod of approval. "Good work. I'm starting to believe bringing you along was not a mistake." As the ship descended through the thick clouds, the hull rattled slightly. Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating wide plains below. The colony's landing pad appeared as a faint circle near a cluster of silver buildings. Naven, the pilot, guided the ship with careful control. "Landing zone looks abandoned," Mira reported from her console. "No movement, no life signs close by, but there's energy coming from somewhere underground." Wren frowned. "That means someone is still running equipment down there." "Let's stay alert." The ship touched down with a gentle thud. Dust swirled around the landing legs. Outside, the air shimmered faintly and the temperature dropped quickly. Wren stood at the airlock door with Mira, Roan, and 2 security officers. "All right, team," he said. "We check the colony center, find the source of the signal, and get back within the hour. Jaxona, stay on board. Keep systems ready in case we need a quick lift." Jaxona hesitated. "Captain, if there's old equipment down there, I might be useful." He looked at her for a moment, then said, "Fine, stay close to me. No heroics." They stepped outside, walking across the silent landing pad. The colony looked like a ghost town. Metallic houses stood empty and solar panels were covered in dust. A few banners of the Terran Republic still hung from poles, moving gently in the wind. The silence felt heavy. Mira scanned the area with a small handheld device. "Signal is coming from that building ahead," she said, pointing toward a structure shaped like a dome. The door was partly open. Inside, the air was colder. Rows of terminals lined the walls, their lights flickering weakly. In the center stood a communication relay covered with cables and cracked screens. The same repeating message echoed from its speakers. "Help us. They are here." Jaxona stepped forward and examined the relay. "It's old, but it's still transmitting," she said. "Someone added a loop program so the signal keeps repeating. Can you find where it started?" Wren asked. She nodded and began typing commands. The screen blinked, then displayed coordinates deeper inside the planet's surface. "It's not coming from here. It's being redirected from an underground system, about 4 kilometers east." Naven's voice came through the comm. "Captain, you might want to look outside. We're picking up small energy spikes all around your position." The crew hurried out. On the ground near the colony's edge, small glowing crystals rose from the soil. They pulsed with a steady rhythm, sending faint waves across the scanners. Mira said quietly, "I've seen similar energy readings in reports about Tsar technology." Wren studied the crystals. "So the Tsar were here." Jaxona knelt and looked closely at one of the crystals. She noticed that it was connected to fine metallic threads that went deep underground. "These crystals are linked to a power grid," she said. "Maybe the Tsar used them to control something below the surface." Wren decided at once. "We'll follow the source. If there are survivors or if this grid still works, we need to know." The team walked through the silent plains, guided by Jaxona's scanner. The terrain changed from smooth rock to soft soil that glowed faintly underfoot. Strange symbols appeared on some of the stones. They did not match any known alien script in Republic databases. After 2 hours of walking, they reached the entrance of an underground tunnel. It was made of the same material as the crystals, smooth and shining like glass. The tunnel sloped downward, wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. Wren hesitated before entering. "We go in together. Stay in visual contact at all times," he ordered. The tunnel walls reflected their light beams in strange patterns. As they went deeper, the air felt warmer, and the hum of distant machinery echoed faintly. Jaxona's eyes widened. "Captain, these patterns on the walls look familiar. They resemble old Terran colony markings." Mira glanced at her. "You mean humans built this?" "Maybe," Jaxona said. "Some of the design symbols match early Republic tech, the kind that existed before the Dominion ever contacted us." Wren looked surprised. That would mean humans were here long before this colony was built. They reached a wide chamber filled with massive crystal towers. In the center stood a round console with symbols glowing softly. It was unlike any technology they had seen before. Jaxona stepped closer. It looks like a power control unit. Maybe it runs the grid that reaches the surface. She brushed off the dust and pressed a few symbols. The entire room lit up in pale blue light. Streams of energy began flowing through the walls. The air vibrated gently. Ren's eyes widened. "What did you do?" "I think I turned on the system," Jaxona said. "It's reactivating after being dormant for years." Mira checked her scanner. "We are getting power readings across the whole valley. It's waking up everything that was connected to it." Suddenly, the relay in her communicator came alive. Static filled the air, followed by a weak voice. "Help! Trapped! Below!" Everyone froze. Ren pressed his comm. "This is Captain Ren of the Terran Republic ship Vigilant Star. Identify yourself." The voice came again, faint but human. "We are survivors from the colony. Locked in containment. Please hurry." Ren looked at Jaxona. "Can you find their location?" She nodded, scanning the console. "The signal is coming from the lower sector. There's a path through those corridors." Ren turned to the others. "All right, let's move. Mira, stay in contact with the ship. Jaxona, guide us." They followed a narrow passage that spiraled down into a deeper level. The walls were lined with transparent panels showing glowing veins of energy. The path opened into another chamber filled with large transparent cells. Inside each cell, faint shapes moved. Jaxona ran to one of them and wiped the dust away. Inside she saw people, humans, lying unconscious but breathing. Their faces were pale and their bodies surrounded by faint light. "There are hundreds of them," Rowan whispered. Jaxona touched the control panel near the cell. "They are alive but trapped inside some kind of energy field." Ren frowned. "Can you release them?" "I can try," she said. She examined the nearby terminal and recognized the same symbols from earlier. Slowly she began entering commands, comparing them with the markings she had seen before. With the soft sound, the light in one cell faded. The door opened, and the people inside began to stir. A young woman blinked in confusion. Who are you?" Ren stepped forward. "We're from the Terran Republic. You're safe now." The survivors looked weak but relieved. They said that months ago, strange machines had appeared from the ground and trapped them in glowing cells. They never saw who controlled the machines. The energy kept them alive but asleep. Jaxona felt both amazed and worried. "This technology is far beyond what the Tsar use," she said. "I think it's ancient human tech that the Dominion found and used." Ren shook his head. "That changes everything. If this is human, it means our history is older than we ever thought." Suddenly the ground shook lightly. The lights dimmed. The energy that once powered the cells now rushed through the walls toward the upper levels. Mira's voice came through the comm. "Captain, readings are spiking again. Something big is activating underground." Ren looked at Jaxona. "What did you turn on?" She answered quietly. "Not just the power system. I think I woke up the whole structure." They led the freed survivors toward the tunnel entrance. The light around them pulsed faster, as if the structure itself was responding. When they finally stepped out into the open plains again, the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. The Vigilant Star waited nearby, ready for pickup. Navin waved from the ramp. "Get inside, quick! The scanners are going crazy." As the last of the survivors boarded, Jaxona looked back at the valley. The crystal towers glowed brighter, sending beams of blue light into the sky. It was both beautiful and unsettling. Ren stood beside her. "Whatever this place is, it's not just a colony site anymore. We'll report everything to command once we're clear." Jaxona nodded, but her eyes stayed on the lights. "Captain, I think this isn't the end. The energy patterns we saw, they were a message. Maybe someone left this system waiting to be found." He looked at her curiously. "You think someone wanted humans to discover this?" "Yes," she said. "Maybe our ancestors. Maybe someone who believed we would come back." Ren placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let's get everyone home first. Then we'll figure out what the stars are trying to tell us." The Vigilant Star lifted off, leaving behind the glowing valley. From orbit, the beams from Nera 7 stretched into space, forming patterns that shimmered like a signal. The Vigilant Star drifted above Nera 7 in silent orbit. The crew moved carefully through the narrow corridors, checking systems and helping the rescued colonists. The survivor sat quietly in the ship's lounge, wrapped in thermal blankets, still weak after months inside the energy cells. Jaxona worked in the engineering bay, monitoring power levels. The ship's sensors picked up strange readings from the surface below. The planet continued to glow faintly, its crystal network alive again after being dormant for years. She watched the data scroll across the screen, puzzled. Captain Wren entered the bay, his expression serious. "Command will want a full report," he said. "But before we leave, I need to know exactly what we found down there." Jaxona nodded. "The energy grid is still active. It's sending a signal into deep space. I've been tracking it, but I don't know where it's going." "Can you trace it?" he asked. She adjusted a few settings and pointed at the screen. "It's not aimed toward the Dominion. It's going somewhere far beyond Republic space. The pattern repeats every few minutes, like a call waiting for an answer." Wren crossed his arms. "Do you think the Tsar knew about this?" "I don't think they built it," she said. "Their technology is different. This is older, cleaner, almost like it was made by humans." Wren thought for a moment. "You mean ancient Terran tech? From before the first expansion?" Jaxona nodded slowly. "Maybe. The markings and power systems share the same design logic. Whoever made it, they wanted it hidden. The colony must have been built on top of it without anyone knowing." Mira entered with a small data pad. "Captain, we finished talking to the colonists. They said that before they were trapped, they saw strange machines come out of the ground. The machines didn't attack them. They just activated the crystals, then everything went dark." Wren sighed. "So the colony triggered the old system by accident." Jaxona turned to the captain. "If the signal keeps going out, someone might answer it. We can't leave until we know what it means." He nodded reluctantly. "All right, but we need to be careful. If it draws attention, it might not be friendly." Hours later, the crew gathered in the briefing room. A holographic map of Nera 7 floated above the table. Blue lines showed the underground tunnels and power grid that Jaxona had discovered. "The system under the colony is massive," she explained. "These lines connect to a deeper chamber beneath the mountain ridge. That's where the signal is strongest." Wren looked at her. "You're saying there's another layer below the one we explored?" "Yes, the power readings suggest something even larger down there." "I think we only found the outer structure." Mira frowned. "Captain, if the first level was that advanced, imagine what could be in the lower one." Wren leaned forward. "Then we go back and find out. We owe it to those colonists and to the Republic." Jaxona smiled faintly. "I'll prepare the scanners. This time we'll take better equipment." The next morning, the Vigilant Star descended once more toward Nera 7. The survivors stayed aboard while the main crew and Jaxona landed near the mountain ridge. The mist had cleared, revealing tall cliffs covered in silver stone. The valley where they had first found the crystal towers still glowed faintly beneath the sunlight. Jaxona carried a pack of portable scanners and power tools. Wren led the group toward a narrow crack in the mountain that matched the coordinates she had found. Inside, the air was warm and still. The tunnel led downward into a large chamber filled with smooth metallic walls. At its center stood a circular platform surrounded by pillars of light. Jaxona stepped forward and brushed the dust away from a control panel. "This looks like a transport pad," she said. "It's connected to the energy grid." Wren raised an eyebrow. "Transport to where?" She smiled a little. "There's only one way to find out." Before anyone could stop her, she pressed a button. The platform glowed and a faint hum filled the chamber. A moment later, a beam of light surrounded the team and the world around them blurred. When their vision cleared, they were standing in another place. The walls here were taller and smoother, made of dark stone with golden symbols running across them. The air felt fresh, almost clean. Mira looked around in amazement. "This is incredible. We must be deep beneath the surface." Jaxona studied the symbols. "These markings look even older than the ones above. Maybe this was the main control center." In the distance, a faint blue light shone through a corridor. They followed it until they reached a vast hall. In the center floated a large crystal sphere, surrounded by rings of metal slowly turning in the air. Energy flowed between the rings in streams of light. Jaxona approached carefully. "Captain, this is the heart of the system. It's what's sending the signal." Wren watched as she examined the base. "Can you read what it says?" She shook her head. "Not all of it, but I can understand a few parts. These markings mention the words Terran core and memory vault. It sounds like this was built to store something important." Mira looked closer. "A memory vault? Could it be data from before the Republic was founded? Maybe even before humanity lost contact with its first colonies," Jaxona said. "This could be proof that humans reached the stars much earlier than we thought." Ren's voice softened. You just found something that could change history. As they continued exploring, Jaxona activated one of the side panels. The air shimmered, and a holographic image appeared above the crystal sphere. It showed a group of humans wearing old-style spacesuits, their faces calm and determined. A voice spoke in an ancient accent, clear but distant. If you are hearing this, then the Terran legacy still lives. We built this place to preserve our knowledge. The stars are not empty. They remember. The image faded, leaving the crew in silence. Mira whispered, So it's true. Humans were here long before the Republic. Jaxona looked at the console with awe. They must have known they would be forgotten. This message was meant for us, for the humans who would return. Ren nodded slowly. Then the signal we saw wasn't a distress call. It was a beacon waiting for us to come back. Jaxona touched the crystal sphere. It glowed faintly under her hand. Captain, if we can extract the data, we can restore their records. The Republic could learn from this. Ren smiled slightly. You've done it again, Jaxona. You've turned an impossible mission into a discovery that will make history. But as they began to download the data, the energy in the room shifted. The crystal sphere pulsed faster and the floor trembled. The ship's communicator crackled. Navan's voice came through, filled with static. Captain, something is happening up here. The signal from the planet just increased 100-fold. It's reaching deep space now. Jaxona's scanner beeped rapidly. It's broadcasting in every direction. The vault's activation triggered a new sequence. Ren frowned. Can we stop it? I can try, she said, typing commands. The console resisted her input, flashing a soft red light. It's locked. The system doesn't want to shut down. Mira watched the growing light around them. It's not a weapon, is it? Jaxona shook her head. No, it's something else. It's a signal of recognition. It's telling someone that humans have returned. Ren took a deep breath. Then we wait to see who answers. They quickly returned to the surface and boarded the Vigilant Star. As the ship lifted off, the ground below glowed brighter. The beams from the crystal network joined together into one great column of light that reached far into the sky. From orbit, it looked like a bright beacon shining against the darkness of space. Jaxona stood by the viewing window, her reflection faint against the stars. It's beautiful, she said softly. Ren joined her. It's also a message to the universe. Humanity is still here. Mira called from the console. Captain, we're receiving a response. A faint transmission, not Tsar, not any known species. It's using an ancient Terran code. Ren's eyes widened. Play it. The message was short. A calm voice spoke through the static. Welcome back, children of Earth. The stars have been waiting. Silence filled the bridge. Jaxona felt a chill run through her. Someone out there knows us, she whispered. Someone from our past. Ren looked at the crew. We need to decode that message and find out where it came from. But for now, we have something greater than we imagined. Mira smiled. Proof that humanity's story is far from over. That night, as the ship drifted quietly through orbit, Jaxona sat alone in the observation deck. The stars outside seemed brighter than before. She opened her small notebook and wrote down everything she had seen. The memory vault, the holographic message, the unknown transmission. It all pointed to one truth. Humanity was not just surviving in the galaxy. It was rediscovering its forgotten strength. She thought about her home station, the small mining world where she grew up. People there worked hard every day, never dreaming that they were part of something so vast. She hoped that one day, when this discovery reached them, they would look up at the stars with pride. Ren entered quietly. Still awake? She smiled. I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about that voice. Who do you think it was? He looked out at the stars. Maybe another branch of humanity. Maybe the ones who came before us. Or maybe someone guarding our past. She nodded. Whatever it is, I want to find out. He smiled faintly. I believe you will. You have a way of doing the impossible. Jaxona laughed softly. Only because I don't know when to stop trying. They stood together for a while, watching the shining planet below. The signal from Nira. The crew of the Vigilant Star hovered in orbit above Nira 7, staring at the glowing crystals that now covered the valley. The energy flowing from the planet had changed. The light pulses from the vault reached further into space, as if calling for someone. Jaxona paced the observation deck, her mind racing with possibilities. Captain Ren approached. You've been thinking for hours. What's on your mind? Jaxona stopped pacing and turned. Captain, I think we can do more than just rescue the colonists. The energy system underground can be used to free everyone at once. Wren frowned. Everyone? What do you mean? She pulled up a holographic display. The network of crystals connected to deeper underground chambers. The cells that held the colonists, she explained. They are powered by the crystals. If we can overload the grid carefully, it can release all the energy fields at the same time. Every person trapped could be freed instantly. Mira leaned closer. You mean every human that was captured in this system by the Tsar or by accident? Yes, Jaxona said firmly. It is risky, but the system is still responding to my commands. I can guide the energy safely to open the cells without harming anyone. Wren shook his head. That sounds impossible. Overloading the grid could destroy the entire valley. We could lose the ship and the crew. Jaxona met his gaze. Or we could save hundreds of people. Humanity has always done the impossible. Why stop now? The captain stared at her for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. All right. We will follow your plan, but we do it carefully. No mistakes. The next morning, the Vigilant Star landed closer to the mountain ridge. The rescued colonists stayed on board for safety. Jaxona carried her portable tools and scanning devices, while the rest of the team followed with light packs of supplies. The valley below shimmered with faint blue light. Wren spoke softly. Everyone stay close. We move slow and steady. The tunnels were familiar now, yet more dangerous. The energy grid hummed in the walls, pulsing as if it were alive. Jaxona checked the readings constantly. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy became. Finally, they reached the main chamber. The crystal sphere hovered in the center, surrounded by rings of flowing light. The energy streams from the rings extended into channels leading to each cell. Jaxona studied the console. This is it. The energy is stable enough for a controlled release. We can open all the cells, but we must synchronize the channels. Any mistake could send a surge through the system, Mira asked nervously. How do you plan to do that? Jaxona smiled. We work together. I will direct the flow, and the others will monitor the channels. Captain, I need you to supervise and keep the structure from shutting down. Wren nodded. All right. Let's begin. The team spread out around the room. Jaxona started typing on the console, activating one channel at a time. Blue energy began to flow toward the first cell, and the light around the human inside faded gently. The person blinked and slowly stood up, looking confused but unharmed. It's working, Roan whispered. The energy is releasing them without damage, Jaxona continued, carefully directing the power to the other cells. The beams of light flowed along the channels like rivers, opening each cell in turn. The freed humans stepped forward, blinking and stretching. Some fell to the floor in relief, but no one was hurt. Mira monitored the energy flow. All channels are stable. The system is responding to your control. Jaxona nodded, but her eyes stayed on the main sphere. The final link is connected to the outer crystals on the surface. We need to guide it carefully or the energy will scatter. Wren watched as she adjusted the controls. You're doing what no one else could do, he said quietly. This could change everything for the Republic. Jaxona smiled faintly. I just hope it works. As they prepared to activate the final sequence, the chamber began to tremble. The crystal sphere pulsed with brighter light. Energy streamed from the floor into the ceiling and back down again. The walls glowed with the flowing currents, casting reflections that danced across the team's faces. Jaxona took a deep breath and pressed the last control. The energy flowed smoothly along the channels, reaching each outer crystal on the surface. The lights there brightened and merged into a single beam shooting into the sky. Outside, the valley seemed to come alive. The crystal towers pulsed in unison, sending a calm wave of energy into the surrounding area. The signal that had once called for help now expanded, spreading evenly across the planet. Mira gasped. It's beautiful. Look at it from here, Wren nodded. It's not just beautiful. It's proof of human ingenuity. Jaxona watched the energy flow, keeping her hand steady on the controls. The system responded perfectly to her guidance. After a few tense minutes, the final pulses stabilized, and the light around the main crystal sphere softened. It's done, Jaxona said. All cells are open. Everyone is free. The team emerged from the chamber. Outside, the freed colonists looked amazed as they saw the valley bathed in soft blue light. The crystals no longer pulsed dangerously but glowed gently, a sign that the energy had been released safely. A young man stepped forward, smiling broadly. We thought we would never see the sky again. Thank you. Jaxona felt warmth in her chest. You are welcome. Humanity is stronger than we think. This is proof. Ren looked around. We need to leave before anything changes. Jaxona, your plan worked perfectly. You've done what no soldier or commander could do. She nodded, but her eyes stayed on the glowing valley. It's not just about what we did today. This technology could help humanity expand safely, preserve knowledge, and protect colonies in the future. Back at the Vigilant Star, the crew prepared to lift off. The freed colonists boarded quickly, eager to leave but happy to see the valley safe. Jaxona checked the systems one last time. Everything was normal, and the ship was ready for departure. As the ship lifted off, the valley below shimmered one last time. The energy from the crystals rose into orbit, forming patterns in the sky that could be seen from space. It was a signal, a message, and a promise. Captain Wren stood beside Jaxona on the bridge. You just turned an impossible idea into reality. I don't know how to thank you, she smiled. Seeing them free is thanks enough. That's why we try, Captain. That's what makes humans extraordinary. Mira joined them at the console. The energy from the crystals is still active. We can study it safely from orbit. It might teach us things we never knew about the galaxy. Jaxona nodded. We've opened a door and now we can step through it. Humanity has always been explorers, even when we forgot our past. Ren looked at the glowing patterns in orbit. You've given the Republic more than a mission success. You've given hope. You've shown what humans can do when we don't give up. Jaxona felt proud but calm. She knew this was only the beginning. The valley, the crystals, and the memory vault below had secrets yet to reveal, and she wanted to uncover them. During the return flight to the Terran Republic, the crew documented everything. Jaxona worked with Mira to record the patterns of energy, the structure of the tunnels, and the technology of the memory vault. The freed colonists shared their experiences, and Roan monitored their health. Every report Jaxona compiled included one clear message. Humanity had not only survived in space, but it had also left behind treasures of knowledge that could guide the future. Captain Wren held a meeting in the observation deck. The command will want to know about everything, he said. But I also want you all to remember what you accomplished here. You faced the unknown and turned it into hope. That is what humans do best. Jaxona looked at him and then at the view outside. Nira 7 floated quietly, its valley glowing faintly as the sun set. Somewhere below, the memory vault pulsed with light, holding secrets and wisdom from long ago. I think we've only scratched the surface, she said softly. The stars still hold more than we can imagine, and humanity will find it. One step at a time, Ren nodded. And thanks to you, Jaxona, we will take those steps with courage. The ship moved into slipstream, leaving Nira 7 behind but carrying its light into the galaxy. The signal from the crystals continued, a beacon to anyone listening. Humanity had returned to its forgotten legacy, and the impossible had become possible. Jaxona stood quietly, watching the stars streak by. In her heart, she knew the journey was far from over. The Terran Republic had grown stronger, and one day every colony and every human would know that courage, intelligence, and hope could overcome even the greatest challenges. The impossible had been done. And the universe was watching. The Vigilant Star traveled through the quiet stretch of space between Nira 7 and the central worlds of the Terran Republic. The rescued colonists rested, eating carefully prepared meals and slowly regaining strength. Jaxona moved among them, checking on everyone and offering gentle reassurance. Captain Wren approached her near the observation window. You know, Jaxona, I've seen many missions in my life. I've never seen anyone achieve what you just did. She smiled faintly. I just did what had to be done. The energy system, the vault, the crystals. They needed someone willing to try. Wren nodded. Sometimes the people who do the impossible are the ones who refuse to believe it cannot be done. You reminded me of that today. Jaxona looked out at the stars. The light from Nira 7's crystal valley faded behind them, but the memory of it glowed brightly in her mind. She could still see the patterns of light, the pulses that carried messages across space. Somewhere out there, someone had heard it. Humanity had called, and the galaxy had listened. Back aboard the ship, the colonists gathered in small groups. Some spoke quietly about the months spent trapped in the energy cells, while others marveled at the safety of the ship and the care of their rescuers. A young girl approached Jaxona, holding a small notebook she had found among her belongings. "Miss Jaxona, I want to learn how you fix the system. I want to be like you when I grow up." Jaxona knelt down to her level. "You can do anything you want. The most important thing is to believe that you can help, even when others say it is impossible." The girl's eyes widened. "Do you really think I can?" "I know you can," Jaxona said firmly. "All it takes is courage and curiosity, and never being afraid to try." The child smiled and ran back to her family. Jaxona stood and looked around the ship, feeling a quiet pride. Humanity's strength did not come from weapons or power. It came from determination, care, and the willingness to face challenges head-on. Days later, the Vigilant Star arrived at the Terran Republic's Central Command Station. The crew received a hero's welcome. Officials, scientists, and citizens crowded the docking bay, eager to hear news of the mission. News drones hovered in the air, capturing every moment. Captain Wren led the debriefing. "We discovered a hidden memory vault beneath Nera 7. The energy grid preserved humans for months and sent a signal to deep space. The system is human-made, older than the Republic itself, and incredibly advanced. All the colonists were rescued without harm." The audience gasped. "All of them?" one official asked. Jaxona nodded. "Yes, every single person was freed safely." The crowd erupted in applause. Reporters called her name, and even the council members looked astonished. Among them, the Republic president stood quietly, smiling. "You've done what no one thought possible," the president said. "You've shown that humans are capable of courage, intelligence, and compassion. Your actions will be remembered throughout history." Jaxona felt a flush of pride, but she remained modest. "I only did what was necessary," she said. "The system was already there. I just helped it work the way it was meant to." Over the next few weeks, scientists studied the energy vault and the crystal network. They discovered how humans had built it long ago, leaving knowledge and safeguards for future generations. Engineers marveled at the technology, and historians celebrated the evidence that humans had once reached deep space long before the Republic existed. Jaxona worked alongside the scientists, explaining how she had interacted with the system. She showed them the controls, the energy channels, and the sequences she had used to free the colonists. Mira observed her thoughtfully. "You are more than a mechanic, Jaxona. You understand systems in a way that no textbook could teach." Jaxona smiled. "I just pay attention. The machines tell you what they need if you listen." Wren added, "And sometimes the people around you do the same. That is what makes a team capable of impossible things." As the days passed, Nera 7 became a symbol for the Terran Republic. The rescued colonists began rebuilding their homes, assisted by volunteers from the Central Worlds. The glowing valley became a place of learning, where new generations could see the crystals and remember what had been accomplished. Jaxona visited often, watching the children play and the adults work. She realized that this mission had not only saved lives, but had also rekindled hope. Humanity could achieve extraordinary things when guided by curiosity and courage. One evening, Jaxona stood on a hill overlooking the valley. The sun set in gold and purple, reflecting on the crystal towers below. She thought about the memory vault, the holographic message, and the unknown voice that had answered the signal. Somewhere in the galaxy, humans were watching and waiting for the Terran Republic to grow stronger. She whispered to herself, "We are ready. We will rise and explore. We will do the impossible." Months later, the story of Jaxona and the Nera 7 mission spread throughout the Republic. Ships carried the news to distant colonies. Children learned her name in school. Scholars wrote about the energy vault and engineers studied the technology. But Jaxona remained humble. She returned to the Vigilant Star, working quietly in the engineering bay. She repaired engines, calibrated power grids, and assisted in designing new ships. She never sought fame, but her actions had inspired millions. Captain Wren watched her one day, smiling. "You've changed the Republic, Jaxona. They will speak of you for generations." She shook her head. "I didn't do it for that. I did it because it was needed." "That is what humans do. We try, we fix, we help." Wren laughed softly. "And sometimes we do the impossible." Years later, Nera 7 officially became part of the Terran Republic under the name Jaxona's Reach. Scholars, engineers, and explorers traveled there to study the crystals in the memory vault. The planet became a symbol of human courage and ingenuity, a place where ordinary people accomplished extraordinary things. Jaxona continued her work aboard the Vigilant Star. She traveled to new colonies, helping wherever she could, teaching young engineers, and encouraging them to believe in their own abilities. One day, a group of children visited her engineering bay. "Tell us the story again," they said eagerly. "Tell us how you freed the colonists." Jaxona smiled, showing them the panels and controls. "Listen carefully," she said. "The machines can guide you, but courage and curiosity are what truly matter. When you face the impossible, do not give up. That is how humans grow and rise among the stars." The children listened intently, eyes wide. In that moment, Jaxona realized that her mission had done more than save lives. It had inspired hope and curiosity for generations to come. Humanity would continue to explore, learn, and achieve. In the skies above Nera 7, the crystal towers glowed softly, a permanent reminder of the past and the promise of the future. The memory vault pulsed with quiet energy, holding secrets for those willing to discover them. Jaxona knew that someday the Republic would reach further than anyone had imagined, and somewhere far away beyond the stars, someone was listening. Humanity had returned, it had survived, and it had learned that courage, knowledge, and heart could overcome even the greatest challenges. Jaxona stood on the observation deck of the Vigilant Star, her eyes reflecting the distant light of 1,000 stars. She whispered softly, "We did it. We can do anything. Humanity can achieve the impossible." Captain Wren placed a hand on her shoulder. "And thanks to you, we will. Your name will be remembered as the human who did what no one else could." Jaxona smiled, feeling the quiet pride that came from knowing she had helped humanity take its first step toward a greater future. The stars stretched before them, full of possibilities, and she knew that the adventure was only beginning.